Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
It is I, the one, the only.
That being said, you want to go ahead and get started on this?
No worries, man.
Alright, cool. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen Holiday Month. I am Santa Part 2. Joining me today is...
The Elf Without Fear.
Yay! The elf. See, there you go, you finally got there. So, this is just your regular, everyday Geeky Gentleman character discussion, but it is also, doing the math right in my head, going to be posted Christmas Day. So I hope everyone that's listening to this Christmas Day is having a good Christmas. For those that don't celebrate Christmas, good on you. Hope you're having a great Tuesday. And Alfie and I today are going to talk about Klaus, not Santa Claus. Klaus. Like, with these character discussions, it would be so easy to talk about some characters. Like, I'm really proud that we've gone over a year on character discussions and have not talked about Batman. So, even though we're in holiday month and holiday characters get a little far and few between, I'm glad that we just haven't broken down and done a video on Santa Claus yet.
We're close. Practically as close as possible, but not quite there yet.
I don't know, see, that's the thing for me, is I feel Klaus is a very distinct character from the Santa Claus we all think of, but in such a way that he kind of boils down and gets to the true essence of Santa Claus in a really interesting way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you a big fan of Klaus?
Yeah, as all Grant Morrison works, I'm sure anyone who's ever had a cursory look at my Twitter feed already knows that I bow down to the Scotsman. I'm not a very good British man. I'm generally a sucker for anything he can bring out.
What is that?
Please ignore that seems to... It's because of the Gremlins episode. The plumbing in my house isn't particularly great, so give me...
What the fuck? Oh my god!
Alright,
Okay.
There you go. There's a Christmas miracle for you. Alright, that's fixed. Apologies to everyone. As I was saying... this is what happens when you talk about Grant Morrison. Crazy shit starts to happen. But I absolutely adore Grant Morrison's work, and this in particular kind of caught my eye because he's already kind of familiar with superhero archetypes, but applying that to mythical characters is a rare thing for him. He kind of did it a bit in All-Star Superman with Samson, where he took that into more of a superhero-esque role. But we never really get him trying to take, all right, this is a folklore character. We're going to put him as if he was a superhero character and put his own spin on it. So the concept immediately grabbed me. I don't know how you felt about it when you first heard of it.
It was a really interesting idea. If it were anyone else, I'd say it's a terrible idea, but it's Grant Morrison, so he can kind of do whatever the fuck he wants at this point. I feel like Grant Morrison pretty much has the authority to walk it. He wouldn't have been able to do this earlier on in his career, and maybe not even 10 years ago, but I feel at this point he's got the authority to just walk into any comics publisher and tell them, alright, I'm gonna write the fucking story for you, and you're gonna get some artist on it, and we're gonna publish this bitch. And they just do it. It wouldn't even matter what the premise is. That success hasn't extended to television and film, which he's had little bits and run-ins with, but I really feel he could just do that with basically any comic idea he has at this point. So yeah, he's definitely the right guy for something this weird, which is to do Santa Claus, but make him a badass, and also make him nothing like any other Santa Claus beforehand, except that he is perfectly Santa in every way he should be. Not in the ways that he shouldn't be Santa, but in every way he should be, which is really cool.
Yeah, we're kind of stripping away everything but like the base core of the character and then adding new stuff on top of that while keeping the core intact.
Exactly.
So you end up with a different end product, but you start from the same base.
That's the thing I really like about Klaus. It's got all the elements of Santa that need to be there. He rides a sleigh, he has magical powers, he delivers toys to children, he's fundamentally really cares about not only children but people of the world, good, so on and so forth. It's just, instead of making Santa Claus such a passive figure, this makes him incredibly active, you know? Because, like, it's that weird thing of, like, what the fuck does Santa Claus do the other 364 days of the year, right? And this kind of gives us the answer. Oh yeah, he's always out there fighting monsters and demons and just dealing with bullshit. And then his hobby, the thing he does for fun on Christmas, is deliver toys.
Which is such like a beautiful, like, the thing he's most known for is just what, like, it's already such a beautiful idea that this guy comes across, but even then it's mostly treated as, oh, that's his job, or like even in films it's like, you're required to do that. Here it's just like, no, it's just, I feel it's a good thing to do, why not? My job is fighting the hordes of the undead.
yeah, it's so perfect. And I love in the first volume, like, how he kind of gets to that, is he comes across this town where Yuletime joy is being crushed and destroyed, and his way of rebelling against evil is to bring people joy, and he does that through delivering toys night after night. It's the coolest idea of how to bake that part into Santa's origin, because there have been movies that have done it before. There's Santa Claus the movie, where it's like he was just a normal dude who would go village to village delivering toys to the children, and then he got caught in a snowstorm. And there's been other stuff that like try to bake the toy thing into his origin to begin with. This just goes for it and makes it the coolest version it could possibly be. You know, like, I really feel like Grant Morrison's whole mission statement was, how can I make Santa Claus really, really cool?
Because what kind of way it goes with that is, if anyone's seen Happy, Santa Claus in that appears, and he's kind of like the opposite of Claus, where he's the worst possible version of Santa, where he's just fat and like covered in horrible, like, broken down toys, and like he looks like a nightmare. So he said on record that's why he wanted to make Klaus, because he felt guilty that he made Santa Claus like that. So he was like, okay, now let's make him sexy.
Yeah, it's like the two different spectrums of Santa Claus: sexy Klaus and and evil Klaus. Yeah, it's really cool. And like I don't know, I always pronounce it Klaus. Do you just go ahead and go with the like more English or what would the word be? Anglican.
I guess it's just force of habit. I suppose saying it Klaus, is probably the correct pronunciation. But
I don't know if it is. It's just like, it just makes you want to say it differently.
It sounds more metal.
Yeah, it really does, doesn't it? Like, and that seems like the thing about it. It's like, there's really no reason that Klaus's sleigh is pulled by fucking direwolves. It could totally be pulled by reindeer, but we could also just pull it by direwolves, because that's more metal and cool. And, you know, it really is more metal and cool when you pull the sleigh by direwolves.
Yeah, that whole just splash page is just fantastic, that reveal.
Mm-hmm. And, like, that's got literally my favorite moment in the first book is Klaus saying, I say there are no naughty children.
Yes.
That is, like, that's the thing for me is, is Grant Morrison has this very, very distinct ability to completely capture and summarize the idea behind a character and what drives them and what makes them. And so the thing for Santa Claus shouldn't be checking naughty or nice. It should be seeing the nice and bringing the nice out. And usually that's the thing that people like the most when they see him in Santa Claus movies is when he finds a way to redeem people or whatever. And you couldn't do that if you just determined, no, this child is, or this person is evil, this person's lost forever. If you just, like, if you always have that hope for someone, then there truly is no one who's bad. There's no one who's beyond redemption. And that's a really, really cool idea.
Yeah, he takes it to like the furthest possible extreme, where basically all of Santa's like iconography and just like general morals, he takes every single aspect of them to the furthest extreme, to where like the red and the white become symbolic, even though that's from Coca-Cola. And like we get like the sleigh, and it's like decked out like this nightmarish but somehow also beautiful like ice sculpture. It's just everything's brought to its absolute like zenith.
And that's what Morrison does all over the place. Obviously, it's not just with Klaus, right? Like he's really good all the time at boiling it all down to one moment that is just perfectly encapsulates that character. When we think about like his Batman run, my head always goes to Batman R.I.P. Like I love Tom King and everything, but so far Grant Morrison still has my absolute all-time favorite Batman moment, where it's 3 black panels, one of them with slightly squinted white eyes, then wide open white eyes, and the captions say, "But that's the thing about Batman. He thinks of everything." And you get that whole, spiel about obvious exceptions aside, there's only one human body, 206 bones, da-da-da-da-da-da. All it takes is time, thinking about the finite ways there are to break or hurt a man, preparing for every one of them. And like then you just get that moment of Batman rising from the grave, because that's what he always does. He always escapes the trap. He always betters his enemy, just through sheer force of will and through thinking ahead and everything.
Yeah.
And then you got like...
I think you're going to say the exact same thing I was going to say, but like the same thing with like, there's a reason why that panel from All Star Superman's portrayed everywhere, where Superman's consoling the girl on the rooftop, and it's that it's not as bad as you think it is. Or the line he repeats throughout the entire book is, "There's always a way."
Yeah, exactly. There's just that, so you got Batman, who's that endless will. You've got Superman, who's that just undying hope in others. You got great moments with Wonder Woman that are about, dialogue and thinking and seeing the other complexly. So just all these things, that's just what Grant Morrison does, is he perfectly understands how to encapsulate a character. And it can get frightening as hell, too, because like when he does it with Darkseid, and you got like Dan Turpin getting converted into an avatar for Darkseid, and Dan Turpin has that line where he's like, "I'm trying to fight Darkseid. I keep banging my fists, but trying to fight Darkseid's like trying to fight an ocean." And that's just the moment. It's like, yep, that's about the most Darkseid thing you can think of right there. And so it's just like, Morrison's really good at that, and that kind of is what comes out in Klaus. Now, I've read the original run, obviously, and I've read 2 of the specials, the one that just came out and the one from last year. Have you read all that stuff, too?
I only own the trade, which collects the first 7 issues.
Okay. So you didn't get a chance to read any of the stuff. I will say, like, while I really, really love the trade of Klaus, the second one-shot released... because I never got a chance to read the first. The second one-shot released, I do feel is kind of an example of one of Morrison's more shortcomings, because I do feel he can sometimes try to cram way too much in way too little.
Yeah.
So that one gets like really confusing, and there's like all this shit with like aliens and whatnot. It's like, it's too much going on. It's overloaded, and you thought it was just going to be about, Santa taking on, or Klaus taking on Coca-Cola Santa, and that's in the background more than anything. It gets kind of caught up in all this alien invasion stuff. But the newest one, Klaus and the Crying Snowman, is really good, and I thought it did again that same kind of thing of Morrison just boiling down a character to some of their essential elements, where like you've got the god killers that brought about Ragnarok coming back to Earth, and now it's just up to Klaus and his friends to stop them, and Klaus just talks to them and realizes that all they want is heat and light from the sun to take back to their home. So he lets them take it, and everyone's like, how did you know they wouldn't destroy the sun or anything? He goes, it's my thing. I can tell who's naughty and nice.
That's brilliant.
That's just the end. That's pretty much the end of the whole conflict. It was really, really cool for that reason.
I'm kind of annoyed I didn't get a chance to read that one, though, because I did kind of want to bring this up, because it's kind of ironic how well this spans into like our last character discussion with Thor, because there's a lot of Norse mythology in this, especially because my version of Santa, I'll be giving you guys a courtesy, but it's Father Christmas, and Father Christmas in England is a lot closer to being based off Odin, and the fact that he brings in Ragnarok in like one of these specials, I think that's really cool, especially given like how close to like Asgardian warrior he is in the rest of this book.
Oh yeah, he, like, Klaus and Thor would get along really well.
Literally.
Oh man, yeah, it's really cool to see all the mythology stuff that Morrison brings in, and the fact that he like makes Klaus properly immortal. He doesn't take like the get out of jail free card here, where it's like, oh well, this magical stuff happened and then Klaus died, and then the legend kind of lived on and got mythologized. No, the fact that he kept him alive and decided, yeah, we're just gonna do a one shot every Christmas is so perfect. It's such a good idea.
Because then, like, it's kind of the perfect thing. Is like, you can just keep this going forever. He's made, I think, the good example, again, I'm going for straight from another interview I've got up here, is he says he wanted to make the middle ground between Superman and Doctor Who, someone who could go anywhere and do anything. And yeah, he can. He can do like Christmas stories. I'm sure the fact that you've done so many Geeky Gentleman Christmas films shows you just the amount of stories you can take place in Christmas, basically infinite. Why not have the Master of Christmas himself, apart from maybe the other guy who the thing's named after, but the getting Klaus in there, you can keep the stories going forever as long as you keep the theme. He's basically just this one-of-a-kind superhero.
Yeah, he absolutely is, and it's so cool to see all the stuff that he's doing just on the side, and that, like, because most of the time when you got Santa in a story and like he's playing a big role, it's, oh, we've got to save Christmas and we've got to find a way to still deliver all the presents, and it's really trite, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just really trite. It's like the easiest kind of story to tell when you don't really know what to do with Santa Claus, and this is just like, oh yeah, no, Christmas is never really under threat. Klaus is just too much of a badass to let that happen.
Yeah, it's rare because, like you say, it's always about, oh, something's happened and we need to, this third party, normally children, need to come and help. Which is like, again, it's been done to death and it's always kind of just disposable. We never really get a competent Father Christmas in a lot of things. It's really nice to get to see him like have his shit together.
Yeah, it really is, and it's really fun to see that kind of stuff played with. And yeah, you're right. The way this is written and just how damn versatile this makes the character is so perfect, because, like, yeah, this is only coming out once every Christmas. Sure, fine, but you can put him literally in any other holiday. You do a Klaus Halloween special, do a Nightmare Before Christmas kind of thing.
Oh,
that'd be amazing. You can do a million things with this version of Klaus. You can do a 4th of July issue or some shit, whatever you want, really. You can do an issue where it just takes place in the middle of the summer. It has nothing to do with Christmas being on the line, because the threat isn't to Christmas, it's to the people. Like even in the first volume, the threat isn't about Yuletime. It's about defeating joy around Yuletime. Because that's when like the barriers are closed or whatever, or the barriers are the most open or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know. It's so cool how that all works out.
It is because it's kind of like this idea of we're seeing joy and like cheer. Like we get to see these words which like in other stories makes come across as like yeah pretty cheesy because they're just saying it outright but they don't really mean it. It's so earnest here, and you really do kind of get to step back when you read and think about that as a concept. Kind of like Darkseid is just like, okay, but what if joy actually was taken away? What if it, like you lived in a place where there was such ridiculous, like one of my favorite things is in one of the panels is there's a wishing well and there's a sign next to it says no wishing. And I'm just like, that is so perfect. But just like
that is like the definition of hopelessness, isn't it?
Exactly. It's just like the town's called Grimsby. It's already like this horrible place. But even then, and the people in it are, you start off like so disheartened, but all it takes is like, again, like a little bit of a symbol of hope, a little person like just regular kindness. Because at the start, he isn't beating people down immediately. A kid gets threatened, he tries to fight him and then gets his ass kicked. Which I appreciate because it's like, okay, we're setting up the stakes, we're setting up the escalation. But it's also the kind of thing is, yeah, if you want the idea just generally, if you see shitty stuff happening, stand up to it, make a thing, and you can just general kindness can go a long way for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree. So we need to fill just a few more minutes here, and I got an idea that might be a good way to do it, because we keep talking about how versatile a character this is. What, like, let's say this keeps going and the issues keep selling really well. I actually don't know if that's the case. I don't think the single issues are selling really well. I know the trade sold like hotcakes.
Yeah, because it's such a good like Christmas gift idea.
Yeah, so like, and I think they wanted to do 2 to 3 one-shots before they collected them again. So I'm imagining the next volume is that's gonna include all 3 of the one-shots released so far is gonna sell really well too. So let's say that keeps happening and it makes it's a big success character for Boom. Who would you want to see Klaus do crossover issues with?
We just going from like any company?
Yeah, any comic company.
I think the obvious one is Superman.
Yeah.
Just because again, there's not really much conflict there because they're both just like just decent guys and they're pretty similar in tone. But I also think I do like the idea of like Clark having to meet this guy who preceded him but kind of like set the stage for what would come, and then also kind of like maybe bring up the idea of, okay, so the idea of Father Christmas, the idea of Santa Claus is so like mediaized and monopolized. How do you keep the basic spirit alive of that, and maybe bring up stuff of, oh, there's so much Superman merchandise too. I don't know if am I just becoming a corporate figure or am I still doing good? And you can get like Klaus to come in and say it doesn't matter. It's just like as long as you still are out there, the real deal doing things, people will get it. I'd like to see a story about that. I think that'd be pretty relevant.
Okay, I don't know when else I would have the chance to say this. So, like, my headcanon for the DC Universe has always been that there's, like, tons of Superman merchandise out there, and Superman kind of hates it all. And it's sneakily Lex Luthor providing it through shell companies because he's trying to undermine the image of Superman. And, like, he's supplying the toys and the merchandise, but he's also marketing, or he's also got, like, this smear campaign that, like, Superman's getting kickbacks from it.
Or even just the pure fact is like it all goes to charity. There's nothing bad about it, but he owns the copyright, and that's just enough for him. He's just like, I own your house crest.
Something like that, or like just a smear campaign, like, oh yeah, Superman makes money from all that merchandise. That's why he does this. And just shitty. Anyway, that could be a really interesting thing because like I did have that same idea of like, oh, Superman would be cool. But the characters are very similar, so I don't know how well they'd play off each other. But you bringing up the merchandising side of things, I think is a really, really good point, and that could play really well. See, it's funny, we're both going DC. Mine's without a doubt Larfleeze. Larfleeze is a character who I don't know what they've done with him the last couple of years. He's kind of disappeared from the pages ever since John's left. But that Larfleeze Christmas special is just so completely perfect, and I really want DC to make Larfleeze their flagship Christmas character.
Make him their Grinch just easily.
Yes, I mean it works so well. Like you run the risk of he keeps forgetting his lesson, but I don't know. You get clever, something can work, and I think Larfleeze would be a really good example of a character to use for that, to do a crossover with Klaus, because there would be so much antagonistic stuff, especially because Larfleeze had to deal with Santa Claus not existing in the big story. So maybe that would be a way to have it be brought back. And
because it directly challenges that previous story without him doing it, because it is a different version. Yeah,
so like I don't even know if you do like crossing the universe bullshit, or if you just say, I do my thing. I go to the good children every year. You're just
across the multiverse. That's what Morrison idea is. Just like, my sleigh can do it every night on Christmas Eve. That's how fast he is. That's just so cool.
That is a great idea. There's only one Santa Claus. Santa Claus exists outside of the multiverse. I love that idea. It's like Darkseid, Highfather, and Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Well, like, I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a really, really famous, 4-panel comic strip of Santa Claus walking up to Darkseid and giving him a piece of coal. It's like, here's for you again. And Darkseid looks at him and he goes, he does not leave here alive. And Santa Claus is just like running away and dodging lasers and stuff.
I have seen that, yeah.
Yeah, that happens every year. Poor Darkseid.
On each of his avatars from every Earth get coal.
Right? Oh, it's too good. It's too fucking good. So Klaus is just one of those really interesting ideas of a character. He's still so new. He's only like 3 years old at this point. And yet it gets cooler and cooler every year. So that's, I don't know, I'm really looking forward to just reading Klaus every year and talking about it more and more, because it's such a perfect idea. It's one of those things where it's not a continual commitment from Morrison. I don't feel like Dan Mora, I don't see him on a lot of different books. So I feel like he'll be open to sticking with it, and this will kind of be the thing that he's the most known for.
Yeah, like his baby.
Yeah, so I think that team can stick together and do this for, 10, 15, 20 years, which is just, it's really cool to think about on that level.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to see it continue with the specials. Hopefully, like you say, when they do more trades, they sell well. I would really think this would be perfect for an animated movie. And it wouldn't even have...
Oh, yeah. You could definitely do the first run as a movie. That'd be nice.
That could easily become... Because people always looking for Christmas movies for the origin of Santa Claus. And there's actually very few animated Santa Claus himself movies. And this is perfect for that, because yes, there's some violence in it, but you could tone it down a little bit if you wanted to make it a bit more PG without ruining the tone of it. And even then, if you wanted to go a bit harder with it, make it for the teen audience, they'd still eat it up.
I agree. Totally agree. That would be fantastic. All right. Well, I think we're good. There's really no point in talking recommendations, because it's the first volume, and then check out the 3 one-shots. The 2 I've read vary a bit in quality, but they're still worth the read. I wonder when that second trade's going to come out, collecting more of the one-shots. Anyway, I don't see anything else we need to really get into, so I guess that's gonna do it for us. Everyone, thank you very much for listening. Alfie, thank you for joining me. Until next time, I'm the Christmas philosopher.
And I am the moody, grinchy Alphagothia.
And we are your geeky gentlemen. and we will be discussing things.
Ho, 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 ho! Merry Christmas!